It's your daily dose of Donna. Welcome to the show. It is Friday, July 19th. We made it. We made it. We made it to a Friday. It was a really long week, and I don't have the rhymes. You guys, I am skilled in a lot of things. I guess songwriting, rhyming, and poetry are just not that. Welcome to the Friday of my dreams. Why is that? Because it's Friday. It's sunny. I have a hair appointment after this. I have a therapy appointment also today. I get to hang out with my dosers for a solid hour today. And then tonight at 5 p.m. Pacific time, we have happy hour. Happy hour on Patreon. If you are part of the Patreon community, Patreon, the overdose community, 5 p.m., we have a Zoom. Bring a cocktail, bring a coffee, bring a water, just bring yourself. We chat, we get to know each other, we have a lot of fun. It's a really, really great way for me to kind of get to know my community better and you guys get to know each other. In fact, a lot of you guys have become friends through that Patreon happy hour situation. It's so lovely. It's lovely. So come and join. And in the meantime, we have a lot to talk about. We had a big night of TV. I was just wrapping up Big Brother this morning as I was getting ready. And of course, Real Housewives of OC had its second episode yesterday. We're going to talk about that. But there's a few other stories that we would definitely want to talk about all on today's special edition, just because it's Friday of Daily Dose of Donna. Hi, guys. Okay, so I see a lot of you are here and happy to get into the show. Apparently, I still think it's 4th of July, wearing red shorts, a blue top, and carrying a white water bottle. Just a walking American flag over here. That was by accident, but I love these colors. There's something really beautiful about red, white, and blue together, 4th of July or not. It's a good color combo. I just feel like it looks pretty. We also do have, we'll talk about that maybe on Patreon, the RNC last night. I did watch the speeches. I watched parts of it. It was a long one. And I was getting nervous because I'm very interested in politics. So I like watching these things. But it kept going on and on and on. And I kept looking at my watch and I said, but Kayla's, Aaron's meeting Kayla's mom tonight. Like, what do I do? What this is the future of our country, but Kayla and Aaron are meeting her mom, and like that may be taking precedence tonight. And I'm sure a lot of you guys felt that too. And in fact, it's weird when Love Island goes on first over Real Housewives. I don't know if that's just because we only have a couple episodes left or because I'm just more interested in it. So I always think about, what do I want to watch night of? What do I want to watch morning after? So my choice was last night in my 1 hour of free TV time. I got Love Island. This morning I watched OC and Big Brother. So it will be an interesting just all I know is that we have quite an interesting few months ahead of us in this country. But this is not a political show, so we try to stay away from politics if possible, just because it's so divisive. And why should we bring in divisiveness like politics when we can just talk about Shannon and Jesus jugs? That's divisive enough. Honestly, everything we talk about on the show could be potentially more divisive than politics. Think about it. Think about the Ariana and Lala drama that we went through. Heather McDonald and Jeff Lewis. I don't think any political situation has ever been as heated as Heather McDonald and Jeff Lewis's fans. True? I don't know. I just really believe that this is a this is a neck and neck situation. Like, if there was, instead of an RNC and a DNC, if there was a Jeff Lewis National Convention versus like a Juicy Scoop National Convention a year ago, what would the numbers be on that? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. chumps in one room, scoopers in another. That would be quite a battle. Who would cover which network which one would be on Fox News? Which one would be on CNN? Would Newsmax have anything to do with it? Oh, forget politics. We have reality stars. That's what matters over on Daily Dose of Donna. Okay. We talk about the serious things like Brad Pitt's BO. And apparently, Matthew McConaughey and Kate Hudson's BO is also so strong that we can smell it. Can you smell it where you live? I can smell it where I live. I didn't see this clip of Kate Hudson on Watch What Happens Live until yesterday afternoon when Josh, my friend Josh over here, sent me a DM and said, "Look at this." And it was Kate Hudson on Watch What Happens Live talking about this, I guess, this rumor that back when she was working on Fool's Gold with Matthew McConaughey, she had to tell him to put on deodorant. And her response was like, no, 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 no. He doesn't wear deodorant. Not Kate Hudson. Yeah, Kate Hudson. I'm saying it right, right? Kate Hudson. Please don't make me question my brain at this point, right? I'm saying it right. Kate Hudson. So Kate Hudson, all of a sudden I'm thinking, did I say Katie Holmes? Are we talking about Katie Chastain? What other Kate's doing? Katie Maloney? No, Kate Hudson. So she says that on that movie set, she would smell Matthew McConaughey a mile away. Everyone knew when he was on set. And she said, I don't wear deodorant either. Well, let me do a public service announcement. And I really wish Lumi was sponsoring this year or this week. You know, Lumi deodorant, they used to sponsor me on and off. So Lumi, I'm wearing you. Please, please. I don't care that you're pretty. I don't care that you're rich. I don't care that you have a lot of followers. I don't care that you're a celebrity. I don't want to smell you unless you smell like Baccarat, unless you smell gorgeous, roses, flowers. But I mean, most people, not everyone, struggle with body odor. This is a very normal thing. It doesn't mean you're dirty. It just means that you are a human being. Some people do not have body odor. Did you know that? I have a friend who is on my her son is on my son's baseball team. They are Korean, and she straight up said she has 3 boys, and then the younger one is 9, and she said none of them have ever had body odor. And she doesn't have body odor, and her husband doesn't have body odor. So there are people out there that don't smell, but most people do. And I love Kate Hudson, but I don't think she's like above the smelly fray. So, public service announcement, wear your deodorant. I'm actually starting a brand. It's called Daily Dose of Deodorant. DDOD. And it is uh it's a beautiful scent. It smells a mix of Tom Sandoval's Cheetos and cigarettes and what else? Maybe Heather Dubrow champagne. We got a little champs in there. So there's like a little musky, like, cheesy smell. It smells like a reality show. Okay. It smells like Love Island. It really does. So, okay. I don't now when she said she doesn't use deodorant, she didn't say I use natural deodorant. By the way, there are natural deodorants. I grew up here in Los Angeles, and fun fact, Erewhon, the store Erewhon, that was a store that my mom had a skincare salon. My mom was an esthetician my whole life, and she had a skincare salon. We called it a skincare salon growing up, like to an Israeli mother. I have no idea what they call it. Um, it was called Mary Mandel's Skinworks, and it was right on the corner of Beverly Boulevard and Fairfax, basically, which is right by the Grove, which is right by CBS Television City, where they shoot Dancing with the Stars, Price is Right, etc. That being said, Erewhon still is there in that same location. It was there when we were so young. And when I tell you, Erewhon used to be like grungy, hippie, hemp seed, wheatgrass, carrot juice, bran muffins with like actual like strands of zucchini in it. Like it was not what it is now. So I grew up with a mom that was like really a crunchy attempting mom. She was a very healthy, hemp seed, chia seed eater. And so we used to go to Erewhon and she bought us natural deodorant. Like our first deodorants when we were, 13, 12, whenever you start wearing deodorant, were the balls. It was like it was like a rolling crystal ball that smelled like nothing and it did nothing. Now, there's companies like Native and there's better companies out there that really handle the job and they're natural. Okay. Let's that was a left turn. That was kind of like a ramble session. I guess if you guys hang out with me, that's what you get. You get a lot of rambling. But some would say it's a fun, natural experience. Like we're just having like our deodorant. We're just having FaceTime, right? We're just hanging out with the friends. It's Friday morning coffee. Who had a really bad coffee was Gina. Gina and Jen on Real House of OC. We'll get into there in a moment, but in a momentito. But before we get into everything, we've got a lot of stories. I want to bring up my friend, my girl, my lady, Jennifer Aniston. Jennifer Aniston and her company, Lolavie, are sponsoring this week on Daily Dose of Donna. Here is Jennifer Aniston taking a shower for all of you to enjoy your Fridays. And Jennifer Aniston's Lolavie is natural ingredients, gluten-free, of course, no silicone, sulfates, parabens, or gluten. It's cruelty-free and vegan. They have an in-shower trio of the restorative shampoo and conditioner, plus an intensive repair treatment. It turns your shower experience into a spa-like retreat while working to banish breakage. Post shower, you use that glossing detangler, which is what she's using in the leave-in conditioner, and of course, there's an oil. It's a triple threat for your styling routine. These multifunctional formulas work beautifully together to prime, prep, and finish your hair for shinier, silkier, Jennifer Aniston approved hair. Go to lolavie.com. That's LOLAVIE.com, and use code Donna DANA for 15% off your order. lolavie.com. Use code Donna. Thank you, Lolavie, for this week. Okay, let's get into it. We have to talk about this because I kind of like mentioned it yesterday, but we didn't get into it. Bethenny Frankel and her ex, Paul, and his ex, Aurora Culpo. So we've spoken about this now briefly over the last couple weeks about the fact that Bethenny Frankel was engaged to Paul Vernon, who is a producer. I don't know much about him other than that. I mean, he's not really a public guy. He doesn't post a lot on Instagram or anything, but he was made a little more public when he was with Bethenny. He was in a lot of her pictures, videos, TikToks, etc. He was kind of like a big part of when she started to do all that YouTube and TikTok content. And then slowly, we started to notice like Paul's kind of MIA. He's not really showing up in a lot of your posts and videos. And so a lot of people were questioning, where's Paul? This was about a year ago. Well, Paul also has an ex-wife and kids. And it was never talked about on Bethenny's content. Bethenny never mentioned them. We never saw them. So my gut feeling was Paul was in and out, considering the fact that he did have kids and probably in a different city and had to go back and forth. I don't know a lot of details about Paul's ex. However, Bethenny and Paul broke up. We didn't know about it until after the fact. No one had actually confirmed to us that they broke up. She hadn't told us or anything. But right around the time her mom died, she did release a podcast and talked about, oh no, she didn't mention it then. Her mom died. She did release a lot of vulnerable podcasts about that. Then she talked a lot about her divorce with Jason Hoppy 10 years ago, or only finalized a few years ago. But she was talking a lot about her life, but she wasn't really bringing Paul up a lot or anything. And then it did come up at some point that they did break up because people were starting to spot him with other women. And this other woman is Aurora Culpo. Aurora is a 35-year-old divorcee, mom of two very young kids. She's also a sibling of Olivia Culpo, who just got like very, very famously just got married to a football star. And she is an influencer. She has her own podcast called Barely Filtered. By the way, tell me I'm not insane. How many podcasts are there that have a name that are somewhat like Barely Filtered? There's Barely Filtered, there's Unfiltered with Zach Peters, but I feel like there's a lot of other, or no, it's No Filter with Zach Peters, but I feel like there's a lot of unfiltered, filter-free, no filter, barely filtered, kind of filtered, sort of filtered podcasts out there. Filter is the name of the game, and Aurora Culpo pulled up, she got Barely Filtered. Now, I don't watch or listen to her podcast. However, she did I actually didn't really know a lot about her. I know there was a reality star, but I have no idea, like, the details around Aurora. But when Bethenny's ex was photographed in pictures at the Cape or Rhode Island or wherever they were with Aurora during Olivia's wedding weekend, all of a sudden hello, open my eyes to this girl. Who is this? Then a couple weeks later, Bethenny Frankel goes on her podcast. We talked about this last week. It was like a 7-minute podcast where she basically, and by the way, if you go and listen to that episode where she talks about the breakup and Aurora and him, she sounds very different. She sounds like very serious and deep. In fact, one of my girlfriends was like, is she using a voice filtering tool for this? And I thought to myself, I don't know, but let's start a podcast called Filtered Voice with Bethenny Frankel. It's Just Be Filtered. Just Be Unfiltered is Bethenny Frankel's new podcast. So, um, so she talked about the fact that it was very challenging to not only break up with her ex, but then to have to publicly, in her eyes, see it again, break up again. Because in that moment, she saw it all in the news. She heard about it on her podcast, on this Aurora podcast. And she felt like she was going through the breakup again. It was very, very devastating. She says on that show, and this was, like I said, a week and a half ago or so, she said on that show, Paul broke up with her. She didn't say Paul. She said, my ex broke up with that new relationship. And no one else had really known that. But allegedly, Paul did break up with Aurora. Actually, we know that now. And then went and told Bethenny. And Bethenny released it on her podcast way before Aurora could have, which is weird. Now, Aurora went on her podcast. Are we following, guys? Aurora Culpo went on her podcast. I want to say Wednesday it was released. My girlfriend sent me a TikTok. I was like, gotta listen to this immediately. I'm very invested in this world, in the Bethenny world. And so I listened to the show. Having not known Aurora Culpo at all, I really don't know her. I can tell you a few things right off the bat. She seems like an entertaining person. She seems very well put together. She's definitely a beautiful woman. She annoys me a little bit, I think is the truth. She kind of annoyed me in this podcast, but she said a couple of interesting things. She said that Paul reached out to her earlier in the year, like a few months ago. Paul, this ex of Bethany's, reached out to Aurora because he wanted to produce a podcast with Aurora about dating. Has anything felt so like multiverse or simulation as that? Bethenny Frankel's ex-fiance, who is a quiet, under the radar, really not a public figure type of person, wanted to release his own podcast with Aurora Culpo, someone he didn't know, but he just liked her show, I guess, about dating. And then one thing led to another as they started kind of talking about it and producing and creating this podcast. This is all according to Aurora. They start talking about it, they start kind of creating it, and Paul and her start to develop a relationship. They start to really like each other. And then all of a sudden they realize, oh my gosh, let's do this podcast about dating, but it's actually about us dating, which would have taken Bethenny. I mean, Bethenny would have gone face first into chicken salad if there was a full podcast series with Paul and Aurora about dating. Mark, you're killing me. He said it was going to be called Just P. Oh my God, it's so good. So this podcast never actually came to fruition, Meanwhile, Aurora was talking about Paul in an anonymous way, I guess, through the last few months on her podcast. She was talking about their sex life. She was talking about this and that. And then when she went to Olivia's wedding with Paul, he didn't actually go to the wedding, but he was in the pictures. Paparazzi caught them in photos. All of a sudden, Paul realized, oh my God, I don't want to be photographed with her. I don't want to be a public figure. I don't want to be doing that. So allegedly, he called Aurora after that weekend and after all the press that kind of came after and said, this isn't going to work. I want to end things with you. So Aurora says on her show, this kind of sucks that my ex's ex announced to the world about my breakup. Like, I didn't need that at all. Aurora said she never meant to hurt Bethenny. Never once did she ever she never was trying to rub anything in. She also said from Paul that Bethenny and Paul have been broken up since December. So think about December. This is before her mom died. This is before the divorce podcast. December was a long time ago. And Bethenny never shared that. So that's according to Paul, they had been broken up forever. Honestly, Aurora dodged a Jess B bullet. I would. I mean, can you think of anyone else that you'd want to have as your boyfriend's ex? Like, I can't think. I mean, I could probably think of some. Sherry Papini. I think Sherry Papini probably would have been the worst choice, but I just can't imagine someone so, be unfiltered. Then Aurora, is almost kind of like doubling down on this by talking about it on her podcast. I understand why she did. I think it's just because she kind of does need to like have her own say and bring it out and try to protect herself. Listen, at the end of the day, just like Maddie says, it's called dancing with the podcast. The podcast business it's money. It's business. It's how do I get the most listens? Aurora's not an idiot. Bethenny Frankel is a huge name. Oh my God. Like talking about Bethenny Frankel online is immediately like people hate you, love you. I'm sure Aurora's getting 1-star reviews from the top to the bottom of her podcast now. I can tell you that from personal experience that when you talk about Bethenny, people really lose their shit. So I think that it's all a little bit, is it meta is the word? Like, I'm going to talk about you on my podcast, but then we're going to do a podcast about dating. But then I'm going to talk about your ex on my podcast, and she's going to talk about me on her podcast, and she's going to call my sister and ask her to be on their podcast. And honestly, what the hell happened with this podcast industry? Podcasts became the industry. I'm always wondering about that. Like, every time there's a new podcast that pops out that is not like there's entertainment podcasts, right? And there's so many of us that do this. We talk about TV, we talk about celebrities, real life stories. There's of course so many that do what I do in so many different categories, right? There's so many news podcasts that just talk about like topics. I love shows like that are topical and talk about current events that are entertainment related or whatever. But then when you think about like podcasts like not recap shows, but like I just saw there was a podcast that just popped up the other day that I saw. It was like there's so many, just like another random celebrity talking. Look at Tori Spelling. Tori Spelling, I was so invested in her podcast in those first few weeks because it was shocking to me to hear all about this crazy wild life that she lives. Not drinking water, her dogs are pooping all over her place. Like she doesn't poop. I mean, there was so many like TMI things, but then I can't listen to it anymore. And I'll listen to it every once in a while. Like if she has an episode talking about Shannon Doherty, I'll probably talk about that a little bit, but I cannot watch her or listen to her every single week, just talk about more of these crazy things that happen in my life. It's just, it's an interesting dynamic. We'll have to see how many more times new podcasts can pop up. Okay, let's move on. See, even in my comments, people can't stand Bethenny and people love Bethenny. It is really, really So interesting. So actually, instead of Trump and Biden or Jeff Lewis and Heather McDonald, let's do Bethenny and Andy Cohen. Who would Bethenny be? Like, who should we do in the Bethenny National Convention? There's a BNC, and then there's a what? Like, who's on the other side? Okay, let's keep going. Um, Kyle and Mauricio. Did you guys see this story that popped up this morning? Kyle and Mauricio changing. Da-na-na. You guys, their relationship is over. Over. We've known this now for a long time. Those of you that have followed this show really have known. But it was over from the moment that everyone thought it was, and anyone that was holding on to hope with the fact that they were going to get back together, I think was a little bit hoping for the best and half glass full. But the truth is, I think when you're over it, you're over it. And I 100% think that Kyle Richards was over it. Like, I think you could just feel it. She had such an ick from Mauricio that last season of Housewives. And I don't think she would have broken up her family. I don't think she would have changed everything. I don't think she would have done anything like that had it not been for real, for real, for real that she was over it. And I would imagine, I'm not someone that's ever personally gone through divorce, but I would imagine even if you choose to get a divorce after 20 whatever years of marriage, you have 4 kids together, you had a great life together, it still has got to be hard to see the person move on. And remember when he was photographed with Emma Slater during Dancing with the Stars, walking outside of the sushi restaurant, she lost it, right? She was very hurt by that, very upset by that. But now, here we are. It's July, mid-July. They've announced their separation about a year ago. And then as we know, they don't even live together now. We've known that for probably 6 to 8 months. And yesterday, Kyle Richards finally removed wife from her Instagram bio. Do you think it had anything to do with the fact that Mauricio has been photographed in Mykonos at the airport with a new woman? I will show you really fast in just a second, um, a little bit about her. But first, let's look at Kyle's post that she posted yesterday at her 2-year alcohol free. She's 2-year alcohol free, and she posted this picture, which is, I mean, she's makeup free in her gym in a little sports bra. She has obviously a very, very, very fit and phenomenal looking body, especially given, her age. She looks great. But she says, this week was my 2-year anniversary of being alcohol free. I can remember a time when the idea of going 2 weeks seemed impossible. I'm proud of the fact that I've had the willpower to stay on this path. I know many people would love for me to start drinking again, even friends with the best of intentions. Everyone loved Party Kyle. I think that was the hardest part of all of this, the resistance from others. The old me, the people pleaser, did struggle with that aspect of it. And I realized right away that I wasn't going to have a ton of encouragement. But I've dropped enough splits and whipped enough ponytails to know when it's time to call it a day. Okay, I may still drop a split here and there, sorry, but my mental and physical health became a lot more important to me than feeling like I had to be on at a party or social setting. I'm not going to lie, the fact that I looked better because I wasn't drinking was also incentive to not veer from the road I am on. But the real reward is how I feel on the inside. I feel strong, energetic, and grateful for my body. I want to take care of it like it has taken me. Goes on and on to talk about, how she is inspiring other people. She says, I prefer to see people in situations just as they are and without the anxiety. And, some really great comments. Megan Weaver from Jeff Lewis says, you're an inspiration. 9 months for me on Tuesday. Congrats, Kyle. Her daughter, Alexia, says, so proud of you, my strong queen. Andy Cohen says, bravo. This is amazing. I'm impressed, etc., etc. And she also on the same day removed her title as wife in her bio. So I will tell you this. I think that, we've talked about this ad nauseum, so I don't think that it's like anything new, but Kyle went through some sort of a lot of times they say like men go through midlife crises. It sounds to me like Kyle almost went through a midlife, what's another word for crisis that's actually positive? Like a midlife, um, like resurgence or something, where she realized that she wasn't living her happiest life. She wasn't maybe feeling like she was true to herself. Maybe she wasn't feeling like she was with the person that really fulfilled her. And and it's really it's good for her that she was able to figure that out. I think too many people go through their entire lives with holding a lot of inner thoughts, feelings, desires, wishes, hopes, dreams inside just to kind of like keep the peace, right? Like a lot of how many times do we hear about people that don't come out, right? Until they're maybe 80 or until, or they never do until they die. Or people that are living unhealthy, but just don't know how to change that or whatever. So I like that, Joe. Midlife awakening. That's a really good word. I mean, may we all have good midlife awakenings. The only thing is that sometimes I believe when you go through like a midlife awakening like this and you're married to someone who's only known the old version of you, it's going to draw some sort of well, you either grow together or you grow apart. And I would imagine that that's kind of really what happened. I think that, I mean, everyone has their thoughts on Kyle and her love life, but without knowing anything specific about how that went down, I think that Kyle and Mauricio really just grew apart because what they started to enjoy together, they didn't enjoy anymore. Like if you meet someone and your obsession with them is the fact that you guys are both active, physical, you go to the gym, you play sports together, and then all of a sudden you decide you don't want to do that anymore, you lose that connection. And I'm not saying drinking was their connection, but socializing, drinking, partying, going out, networking, seeing so many people, etc. So Kyle is a she's finally living for herself, it feels like, right? With the tattoos and like going on tour with Morgan Wade and traveling and forgetting that Portia is at home. Who is with Portia? I mean, maybe Kyle's at home. I don't know. Meanwhile, we do know that Mauricio was spotted in a airport the other day. We posted the picture. It was breaking news during the show. I love the breaking news that we get. And we found out who she is. So according to Dumois, let me pull up Face Reality 16's post. According to Dumois, Mauricio's airport friend is a model actress named Nikita Khan, and she is clearly beautiful. This is according to Dumois. It says uh, the mystery woman is allegedly 33-year-old actress and model Nikita Khan. For those unfamiliar, Khan is a Ukrainian American accent actress, model, and entrepreneur who has also made headlines for her past relationship with tech billionaire Larry Ellison, co-founder of Oracle, who was, I mean, a billionaire. Anyway, look, and this is showing that, she follows him. She's an actress, model, and animal advocate passionate about creating a lifestyle full of beauty, meaning, and connection. I think that that's really actually perfect for him. It sounds to me like she has roots in real estate. She does all kinds of interior design, stuff like that. She is younger. She doesn't have her own kids. So from what I know, that she's stuck at home. She can travel, she can live this life, and maybe she's in a perfect spot for Mauricio, where she wants to travel, she wants to socialize, she wants to be his plus one at wine dinners, etc. And good for her. She's or good for him, I should say. She's 33. A lot of people are like, "Oh my God, I can't believe that he's dating someone so young." But does anyone know off the top of their head how old he is, if he's 50 or so? Look, it is number one, 33 is not that young, in my opinion. And number two, like Mauricio is a very, very handsome, good looking, in shape, successful man. He is a catch. I just don't see why someone like Mauricio would not date someone in their 30s. Like he doesn't have the energy and the vibe of an old man. Um, Kyle's 55 and she's older than Mauricio, according to Michelle. So he's probably early 50s. That's really not that crazy. I mean, if she was 23, it would be wild, but she's 33 and she's clearly lived a very, she's dated older men before. She's probably able to kind of like hang with the older crew. He's 54, but he doesn't feel 54. Like my sister's husband, my sister married a guy 15 years older than her. They've been together since she was 21. So is that wild or what? I love Mark. He is wonderful, but he is, let's see, he is late 50s. Yeah, he's late 50s. He's going to be 60 soon. And you would never know. He's fun. He surfs. He golfs. He's really athletic. He's really cute. He's really healthy. We have drinks together. We laugh together. We travel together. Like 60 is not old in any capacity. So Mauricio being 54 with a 33-year-old doesn't freak me out. Is that weird? I wonder if you guys feel like that's weird. I don't feel like it's weird. Now, if a woman would like, I don't know. Okay. Let's leave it at that. Anyway, happy for both of them. Can't wait for the new season of Housewives. I wonder how much we actually get to talk about this. I wonder how much we get to talk about Morgan, the elephant in the room. In the room. Okay, Tom Sandoval. Talking about a freaking elephant. But I like elephants. So like I don't know actually if we want to call him an elephant. Let's call him a freaking snake. Tom Sandoval shockingly drops his lawsuit against Ariana. Obviously, we talked about this yesterday ad nauseum that Tom is he announced, or I guess TMZ announced that he was suing Ariana for basically going through his property. A lot of people felt like it was an attorney decision because he has to countersue so that he can remove the blame in the Rachel Leviss lawsuit, etc. I was sure from hearing different attorneys' perspectives online, I was sure that it did come down to probably a legal reason rather than a personal, I want to sue my ex type of situation. However, um, I feel like if anyone got duped by his attorneys, I think that it would be Tom. I feel like if anyone is stupid enough to not know that you're about to be suing your ex-girlfriend, that would be Tom. But let's read Tom Sandoval's announcement. He announced it yesterday afternoon. He deleted his entire Instagram, completely deleted it. And then right when the news broke, or right before the news broke, and then maybe right after the news broke, and then he was gone for a while and then came back yesterday. And this is all he shares on his account. Let's read it together. Late Tuesday afternoon, my attorney, Matt Garagos, whose advice I trusted, called me about the cross complaint in the lawsuit against myself and Ariana. He assured me that the action was customary and strictly preventative in these types of lawsuits and urged me to agree to it. The words new lawsuit or suing were not articulated to me. I should have done more of my due diligence on the matter. Upon realizing what this action actually means, I have removed Matt Garagos from my legal team. In no way am I suing Ariana. The action against Ariana brought on my behalf is being removed. I hold no ill will or vindictiveness towards Ariana. Now, by removing both the cross complaint and the recommended it, I hope to get through this case quickly so that Ariana and I can both finally move on with our lives. So let me ask you guys a question. Do you believe that he actually had no idea that he was doing this and like just said, okay, or that he fully knew he was doing this and then stopped, like pulled away from it solely because he was panicked that he was doing this, like the public opinion, and that his business was getting demolished online. Schwartz and Sandy's, we talked about that yesterday, was just getting killed online in the comments. So that's the question. I am telling you this wholeheartedly. I think Tom Sandoval is horrendous. I wouldn't be surprised if he's so stupid and so lazy and so he's not a responsible human being. We've heard this now from so many different people. We've heard that he misses meetings. I know personally that his old producers couldn't stand working with him. Why do you think he doesn't still have a podcast every week? He wasn't showing up on time to things. He oversleeps. He doesn't check his texts. He doesn't check his emails. I think this guy was told by his attorneys, we're going to do A, B, and C so that we can prevent you getting whatever. And he was like, okay, whatever. Go ahead. I don't think personally that he straight up was like, we're going to sue Ariana. And Tom was like, I'm aware of this. Let's go. I really don't think he's that smart. Now, that being said, if he knew wholeheartedly that he was going to sue Ariana, he's not. If you know that you're going to go and sue the girl that you just cheated on, that's America's sweetheart, then I don't personally understand or believe that Tom Sandoval wouldn't expect that he would get shit on by the world, right? Like the world would hate him even more than normal, which is why the deleting of the profile is confusing. Like, why did he delete his profile? It's possible that he woke up and was like, whoa, I'm suing Ariana? I had no idea. Freaked out because he probably was getting inundated with DMs, comments, etc. Deleted it. Tried to figure out what the hell was actually happening when he finally woke up at 4 p.m. Removed what's his name from his team. Talked to his other attorneys about best way to handle, then reinstated his profile and posted that. I don't think he actually knowingly sued Ariana and then pulled out 24 hours later. Does that make sense? Because I don't believe that he would have thought he would have gotten any other reaction from the world. Like, I don't think he cut the lawsuit because everyone was hating on him. He must have known that people wouldn't have enjoyed or wanted this to happen. Crystalina says he deleted his social media before the filing came out. He knew. Yeah, let's find out like specific times. I know that it all came out that night. It was all that night. It was all Tuesday evening, I believe, was when it all came out. Anyway, regardless, Ariana's off the hook, at least in that one lawsuit. We'll have to see how things kind of, pan out in the Rachel Leviss and then her chef Penny's lawsuit. And that's it. And that's it. How is the internet connection right now? I'm getting some comments that it's bad, but I'm dialed in. I'm not on Wi-Fi. I am plugged in, but sometimes I will be honest, sometimes my streaming software, I get like a little notification that they're struggling a little bit, like their servers. So sometimes it's out of my hands. Okay. Let's move on. Should we let's just talk about Love Island really briefly because I found myself bored over last night's episode. I am frustrated about it because we only have 2 episodes after yesterday, right? We have tonight and we have Sunday. I don't count After Sun. After Sun is like a non-thing for me. I'm not spending my Saturdays or any other days watching After Sun. I want to only watch Love Island. So yesterday was the third to last episode, and it was finally the episode where we got to meet some of the families. Now, pray tell me, Love Island, those of you, and we're going to get into OC in just a moment for those of you that are here for that. But tell me, is Love Island something where you always meet the parents? Because what happened in this case was one couple, Kayla and Aaron, won a competition and they got awarded video calls. They were able to give 2 other couples video calls, and they gave it to Serena and Cordell, and they gave it to Kendall and Nicole. But that means that there were other couples, specifically Leah and Miguel. I think that's like the main one that didn't have an opportunity to see their own parents. Sorry, Janae and Kenny too. Obviously, there's other couples, but like no one, like Rob and Cassie are not like a real couple. Although we'll get into that in a second. So this kind of felt unfair because at the end of the day, from what I know about Love Island, is there's a vote. There's a group vote at the end of like a world vote at the end to decide who is like America's favorite couple. And when you see couples meet their parents and like have those emotional connections, and you kind of get, it's very bachelor coded, right? Where you start to, we're on a hometown date essentially. And so it makes me feel like it's a very unfair advantage for the couples whom we did get to meet their parents yesterday. But I was bored AF. I was so bored, I thought I was going to die. I'm not interested. I just want to know, is anyone going to yell at anyone? No one yelled at anyone. Um, Even Kayla's mom, who was very turned off by Aaron online, we talked about that yesterday. She was turned off by Kayla's constant use of the fuck Aaron. It was still very easy going. Kayla basically watered all plants in Fiji with her crying. She cries when she's happy, when she's sad, when she's scared, when she's depressed, when she's sleeping, when she's tired, when she's hungry. This girl needs to chill the F out. Like something is in the water. It's not okay. And then Aaron is just a doofus. Like he's, I'm so over those two. And then we had Kendall and Nicole, which by all purposes, like they were fine. Like they're okay. They're not as annoying as they used to be. Seems like they're gonna actually end up together in real life. It seems like they really like each other. Kendall's parents, Kendall's family and Nicole's family were cool. And then we had Serena and Cordell. And I was actually kind of like, I really turned on Serena, positively turned on Serena yesterday when I saw her family because it was Serena's sister, niece, and brother. And you could really tell that Serena comes from a very solid family who have a lot of really important values and maybe are a little bit more religious. And you could tell that Serena, that's why she was very closed off from Cordell at the very beginning. She wanted to kind of like do her family proud. But then Cordell, who I adore, right? I adore Cordell. Comes in, he's nervous beyond belief. I love Leah coaching him. She's like, "Don't mumble, Cordell." And he comes in the room, and the first thing he says to Serena's like family, sister, niece, and brother, is like, "What the fuck? Shit, fuck." I was like, "No." I would have died. I would have died if I introduced my new boyfriend without a shirt on a reality show and he started cursing. I was like, "Cordell, no, 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 don't do it." Well, of course, he ends up like kind of making that better. The brother gave him a little shit for it. And then they had a really nice conversation. Everyone was freaking out online before I watched it because remember, I was stuck watching politics forever. Everyone was freaking out online about how cute this was because Odell Beckham Jr., who is Cordell's older brother, did actually video call in too, and they got to meet him. Guys, I wasn't that impressed. I just wasn't. And it was fine. It was fine. Um, Cordella like kind of bugged me, I think. That like interaction bugged me. I'm like, you're smarter than that. It just didn't like I didn't like the way that he kind of was talking. Um but yeah, I mean, I think at this point in Love Island, like unfortunately, I believe that we've seen like the best and now it's just like we're just wrapping it up. The best episodes of Love Island were like weeks 2 and 3. Oh my God. In fact, my trainer at F45, she finally got into Love Island a few weeks ago or like a few days ago, she texted me and she's like, "I'm finally going to watch it because of everything you say about it." So she bought Peacock just to watch it. And she's like 2 episodes in last week and she's like, "It's okay. It's fine." And then this morning at the gym, she was like, "I can't stand Leah. And I really like Rob." This was right when Andrea came in. And then just now she texts me and she goes, "I fucking hate Rob right now." And I'm like, that's the craziest part about the show is that every day you'll have a different person that you love and every day you'll have a different person that you won't like. You know, it's up and down. But at the end of the day, Rob did have sex with Cassie on the first night they ever slept together, which I thought that was kind of shocking. And pretty much diminished all chances of Leah and Rob getting together, which is kind of why I was watching the show. So I'll get through it. But then as of Sunday night, we'll be done. We won't talk about Love Island. Everyone can calm down if you don't watch the show. If you do, okay. Um, I think it's going to be down to, if I could really like guess, I think the final two are going to be Serena and Cordell and Nicole and Kendall. But I don't really know how these things work. Okay, in terms of like how the show works. All right, let's get into OC. Did you guys all watch it? What did you think? Listen, I have to say, I have really good hopes for OC. Obviously, we're coming into a lot of good drama on this show, and I'm excited about it. Um, Basically, we pick up at the Heather New Year, New Fear, New Beer, New Cheers launch, lunch. Felt like a business launch. Um, Lunch. And everyone is kind of like trying to figure it all out after Alexis and Shannon have that big blowout that they did at the end of last episode. There's the door. And I mean, Alexis is literally the most annoying person. I don't care if you like Shannon or not. How do you like Alexis? How can you honestly look at Alexis Jesus Jugs and the way she acts, talking about her promised ring with John Jansen, talking about openly at a lunch how many times she's sleeping with John a day when the ex is right there. Like, you guys, she calls her cat lady. Like, I really, really disagree. I mean, dislike Jesus Jugs. I don't like her any more than I did back in the day. I think she's like really obnoxious and it feels like a little bit of a plant, like a producer plant just for the show. All of a sudden we hear Heather's so close with her. Tamara's so close with her. I'm like, really? Heather Dubrow is so close with Jesus Jugs. Like they're hanging out. I just can't wrap my brain around it. We spent a lot of time with Jen Padranti and Ryan and the fact that Jen is having all these financial issues. And really at the end of the day, this is what's happening. I think personally that, okay, I think that in this case, Jen obviously messed up, right? She leased an apartment without really having a solid amount of money and they forgave or they over, didn't feel the need, I should say, to do a credit report or credit check. They just trusted Gina on this real estate deal, which is a little weird. Right? How much did this person know Gina that she just trusted Gina and didn't do a credit check, didn't do it? And like when you rent an apartment, at least the last time I ever rented an apartment, they check your W-2s, like they check your income. They want to make sure that you're not just like good right now. They want to make sure that you're going to be good for the entirety of the lease. So that whole thing is a little confusing. But we've all been in financial, situations before. And I don't know about you guys, but for me, I have definitely gone through ups and downs financially. And I don't think anyone assumes or expects to have a tough few months financially. And so if Jen really went through some months where she wasn't able to pay her bills and she got evicted, I do feel for her. Do you believe that that is something that Jen needed to apologize to Gina over or not? I guess what it comes down to is that if you have a friend who's a real estate agent and gets you into an apartment and you can't pay the bills after a certain amount of time, do you owe an apology to that realtor? I understand that maybe there should have been a conversation. Um, oh, interesting. Michelle says what they probably can't mention is that Jen was also being sued for not paying her rent on her yoga studio. Your reputation in real estate is predicated on referrals. Yeah, I mean, I guess that is actually really true. Gina was like, I've got a tenant for you. She's great. You can trust her. Put her in there. And then, of course, within months, she had to be evicted. And to be evicted, by the way, it's not just not paying your rent like one time. Like you have to really kind of go through the process as a landlord. So she probably should have shared it with Gina. Okay. Now, why didn't Jen's dad pay the rent? Because we know that Jen's dad co-signed to get the apartment. So why didn't Jen's dad just cover for her in those moments? Or did she feel like she didn't want to ask her that question or ask him that question? But later on, we did see her at Ryan's house. Jen's parents came to visit. They seemed very kind, very sweet, and very, very grateful for Ryan. If only they had known like what was going to come up in a few months with the FBI and Shohei Ohtani's, business manager. But I wonder, you know, it can't be easy for Jen to have those kind of conversations on TV, you guys. She's a mom of multiple kids, and she just like Gina does mention later, why can't you have a yoga class outside? Because clearly she doesn't have that yoga studio, we know. And then she is now living with her boyfriend because she can't afford anything. And she has her parents there, and she's crying to her dad saying, "I'm a 46-year-old woman. Thank you for saving me." Now, if you are someone who is lucky enough, and I say that really truly, lucky enough to have parents who financially support you or help you through difficult times, or maybe help your kids pay for things, pay for schools or pay for um, vacations for that. Like there's a lot of situations here in LA. I see it every single day. Almost every single person I know has a parent that helps them in some capacity just because they have family money. If that's the case for you, like it is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful luxury to have. Very, very lucky. However, it's pretty, it's pretty, I would say humiliating for Jen. I can't imagine that that feels good to have to do on camera. I'm pretty surprised that she even agreed to make this such a big storyline for her. Obviously, the getting evicted and moving out, but then the dad being like, "Thank you, dad, you saved me." So her parents are saints, for real, for real. But it's just interesting, like, how wealthy are they? Can they just pay for a new apartment for her? Okay. Um, Obviously, this really is irking Gina because towards the end of the episode, Gina and her get together and they meet for coffee, and Gina does not hold back. She's pissed off and she loses it on Jen. She says, "You just got glam. You're wearing new clothes. You're driving your Range Rover. You are living your life like you don't have a care in the goddamn world. And meanwhile, you cannot pay your bills. Can't pay your car. You can't pay your bills." And that is it's low for Gina to say on camera because Gina is the one person on the show who has really, really gotten kind of like torn apart over the years over just not having a lot of money, not having a nice house, not having a nice car, or whatever. Gina's always been kind of like your average American lifestyle wise, right? She has a tiny little condo with 15 kids in one room. I think that Gina, the difference here, and Gina even talks about this with Emily, the difference here is when you don't have money, you have two choices. You either just succumb to it and become homeless, go on, get help from the government, whatever, or you do everything in your freaking power to make yourself some money. I think there's two different types of people. Some people don't have the opportunity or the choice, but most people can make the choice of like, how do I make money? And I think that when you watch shows like I was watching Owning Manhattan the other day, when you watch shows like that with Ryan Serhant, these are people that are self-made from what I'm seeing. Like they wake up one day and they're like, I need to make money. Now, some people are really good at it and some people aren't as good at it, but it's all about the hustle. And Jen is a beautiful woman that has a skill. She knows how to teach yoga, and she has an audience. Like she has an audience, and there's a lot of people out there that would do anything for a few 100,000 followers and be on a reality TV show to have that audience so that you can then parlay that audience into a business. And you don't have to have a yoga studio. You can start doing online yoga classes and sell a membership, like a monthly membership to online yoga classes. There's so many ways to make money from anything, right? Obviously, she's making a little bit off the show, but it's only her second season. But it is a really frustrating thing, I think, for Gina when she knows that Jen's lack of being able to pay the bills affected Gina's reputation in the industry, and then she's losing deals, she says, because of it. So, um, yeah, I wonder what's really happening there. And how rich is Ryan? Do we know that? Obviously, he was doing pretty well if he's able to take them all in and he doesn't really work. Jen is straight up saying, like, He doesn't really work. He just lives the dream. Well, that's because he was involved in fraud and like spending other people's money or taking other people's money. But now what? Like, where is he now financially? And does anyone know? I want to know. I want to know what their bank accounts look like. We had, of course, Shannon and Heather having a dinner together. Everyone's so mean to Shannon. I just feel bad. Shannon is also not ideal. Like she's difficult, right? But she's having a real tough season again. I can't, you guys, I really can't with Heather. I try so hard to like her. Just something about her energy is so obnoxious and so showy and so like mm, mm, nose up snotty. I would not be able to be friends with her. I know someone that is similar to her in my personal life, and I always have to keep her at arm's length because when you talk, it's like it's always a one-upper. It's always about her. It just like you realize they don't really ask you questions about you. I'm not saying that Heather is that way in all cases, but just on the show from what we're seeing this season so far, I'm like, "Ugh, she's just obnoxious to me." And she probably loves the fact that Shannon is getting ostracized by Tamara because now Heather can get in. And Heather does not wanna be like on the receiving end of everyone's hate like she was last season again. So, um, I would imagine at this point, Heather and Shannon are not that close. I could be wrong, but at this point, I know that Heather and Tamara have been pretty close in real life. So I have a weird feeling about the fact that they're just not that tight. Gina and Emily. I mean, obviously Gina was a big part of this episode, but Emily just was kind of there. And I love Katie, the new housewife. What a find. She is Korean, adopted, grew up with an all Caucasian family. She has a really interesting like family situation. And I'm curious about this. She has 3 kids from a previous marriage. The daughter is oldest. I believe she's oldest, and she's home with them. And she's like going on interviews and dating. The second one is in high school. I don't remember which one is like the one that's in San Diego finishing out high school. I'm confused by that. Who lives in San Diego? Who is he with? Does he live with a friend? Like she didn't explain that. The third sibling is another boy who is living with dad in Atlanta, her ex-husband. So I'm curious about that. Like I want to know what's going on there. Then she remarried another man who they have like a 6 or a 7-year-old boy together. I don't know much about him. I don't remember seeing that much except for the fact that he seems like a really nice guy. But they have a cute little family. She is fun to watch. He's in the golf world. That's what it is. He was like a golf broadcaster. She was a golf broadcaster. So they're like very much into golf together. I like them. I like them. It's a good like addition to the show. It's just like a needed addition. And and that's it. That's it. I think that's it. So the end of the episode, of course, is Gina losing her shit on Jen in a coffee shop. How embarrassing again for Jen. Like, I just feel I feel bad because I feel like Jen's just not that seasoned. And so last season she got really attacked by Tamara and she didn't know how to come back at her. Remember? She was just kind of quiet. And this season now she's getting attacked by Gina, understandably, but like she doesn't know how to come back from it. Like she's just not very good with conflict. We saw this last season and now we see it again. Anyway, okay. I appreciate all of you guys very much in the comments. I hope that you can come over to the happy hour later today. Please let me know. The link of the Zoom link will be posted to Patreon. Send me a DM on Instagram if you struggle with this or anything. I love you guys. Thank you so much. Let's have fun tonight. And I'm going on a date night tonight after our happy hour. So we'll talk about that all. And I love you. Bye, you guys. See you on Monday.